All right, so yeah, I think we can get started. Thanks so much, both of you, for coming. Maybe like kind of before we begin sort of like fireside chat, we could both of you could give like brief introductions. That'd be great.
Hey everyone, my name is Paul at PanteraCapital.com, Paul Veradittakit. I've been with Pantera for the last, almost 8 years now. So I've been investing in the blockchain space since early 2014. And my background is mostly in early stage investing, but I've also been in business development and growth for some startups beforehand, and also an economic consultant. Pantera is one of the largest asset managers in the space. We manage about $6.5 billion, all investing into cryptocurrencies and blockchain. We invest into equity, early stage tokens, and we also do liquid active trading. And we're also one of the most excited investors of Sowmay and Instep. Those guys are awesome, and I'll let Sowmay give some of his background. Sowmay, on mute.
Hey, Sowmay this side, one of the co-founder of Instadapp. We are building a DeFi infrastructure where we abstract all the complexity of DeFi and provide a very user-friendly way for users to interact with overall decentralized finance space. We are one of the biggest DeFi protocol with billions coursing through our platform. And it's been 2 years, more than 2 years since we are working on Instadapp. And yeah, excited about this fireside chat.
Awesome, thanks. So Alex, should I go ahead and kind of get started and chit chat with somebody?
Yeah, I think we can just go right into it. And if anybody has any questions, we might have some time then for Q&A, so people can just like put the chat.
Yeah, you can type some questions in the chat. If it's not too many questions, then maybe we can even have some people just like ask questions like live. But I'm excited. I've been a big fan of Sowmay and Instadapp, really even before we invested. And I think the great thing is, the story behind, the founding of Instadapp. Sowmay, Samyak are brothers, and, fairly younger than a lot of the other entrepreneurs that we have invested into. And we really reminded us of my colleague Joey Krug in terms of how early they started. But especially for all those guys that are in Columbia undergrad, it really just shows that you can get started anytime to build a company. So Sowmay, tell me a little bit more about your path to entrepreneurship, and the starting of Instadapp. I think that'd be a really cool thing for folks to learn a little bit more about.
Yeah, so as many of you might know, that Instadapp was born out of a hackathon, which happened in like 2019 in Bangalore, India. Like many other programmers and like the early enthusiastic people who are like into tech, or even in like Web3 or this blockchain space, we as a hobby, we're trying to build and solve problem in this blockchain space. At that time, we have like this whole ecosystem around Ethereum. It was very early, and there was not much like commercial activity happening through this whole ecosystem. So me and Samyak got into this and started solving some initial problem. We can still see initially there was like a small community building like this. The whole thing started with a MakerDAO, which was the first ever protocol, and it was a very experimental stage. We are trying to just solve this problem, and slowly when we started building things, we got some traction from community. We started seeing users coming up from the space, and so it was like I think 2019 was the space when that's DeFi shot off. We had started seeing many other protocols also coming into this ecosystem. So over time things started growing up, and today we see like DeFi recently crossed like 100 billion in locked value. So that was a very good time for us to enter. But as we started, it was more like a hobby thing that we started, and soon we realized that it was solving a big problem for users in DeFi, and still there are lots of frictions. So yeah, slowly we started gaining more and more users, and I think today we are like helping a lot of users to manage their DeFi portfolio very seamlessly, and yeah, a lot of pain points have been reduced on that front.
That's amazing. I still remember when we invested into Instadapp, you guys had 27 million in TVL, and now you guys have 12 billion, and the market was like, you know, not even a billion yet in terms of TVL, in terms of DeFi, and now it's like, you know, 130 billion or something. It's just crazy, the growth of you guys, the growth of the ecosystem, and what you've been able to do to help people manage their assets across you know, Aave and Maker and other protocols. But I think more recently we saw that you know, you guys are, you know, sort of branding yourselves as the middleware protocol for DeFi. So what does that mean? Like, what is you know, what does DeFi before you guys look like, and what does DeFi after you guys look like?
Yeah, so I mean, I think there are lots of dynamic shift in the overall space. When we started, there was just a single chain, which was Ethereum mainnet, where all the activity is happening, and we only have like a couple of protocols working on that, mostly DEXs and Maker and Compound, and a few protocols that are also coming up solving some problems. In last 2 years, there has been tremendous like innovations happen on this front. And that we can see that like Ethereum ecosystem matured to such a good extent, like the gas cost and the scalability issues started springing up. Now Ethereum is no more like for any normal users, because even a small transaction you have to pay a lot of gas cost. So the immediate solution for that, I think the ecosystem came up with like having multiple chains. Then we have this Polygon, Avalanche, Arbitrum, Optimism. So there's a whole lot of different ecosystem building around Ethereum mainnet. And we are seeing DeFi coming up on this multiple chain. So previously it was like just a singular chain and multiple protocols coming up on that, and we are trying to solve that problem. But as of today, the problem is different. It's no more like a single chain, or you're not dealing with just a single infra. It's like a whole multi-chain world, and all chains have their own DeFi. And now the UX is, it's a very good solution provided the problem we had, but now the UX is very bad. You have to switch between multiple chains, different DeFi protocols, and yeah. So yeah, that's something we are trying to like go next for, improving that whole UX that users are having with managing this multi-chain DeFi world. So yeah.
How any sort of glimpses of what that UX may sort of be? Because I agree with you right now. I mean, to move across all of these different L2s and L1s, I mean, it's such a pain for the user. I mean, what would that world kind of look like with Instadapp in terms of you guys sort of accomplishing like what you guys want to accomplish?
Yeah, so right now you own Ethereum on multiple chains. Like you own ETH on mainnet, then on Optimism, and now Arbitrum, or I mean on different chains, but the asset is same, like you're owning ETH, but the UX is bad because you own them in like different chains. What we're trying to solve is like make that unification of like your asset base. So you don't own ETH on like Arbitrum or mainnet, you just own ETH, and that ETH will stay in this Instadapp system, which we're naming it Interop, like from interoperability. So building that standard where you are interacting with multiple chains with just a unified infrastructure. So you can say it like more like a smart wallet for overall DeFi system. Yeah. So we are yet to launch it. Like I think the beta we are coming up next month, but yeah, this could like solve a very big problem that we're having with multi-chain DeFi.
I totally agree. I think that makes a lot of sense. I guess which DeFi protocols do you guys currently support for the audience, and then what is the integration process for developers to integrate with Instadapp these days?
Yeah, right now we have like Maker, Compound, Aave, Uniswap v3, and a lot of development is also going around like Banky on Avalanche and
Yeah,
a few more protocols.
makes sense.
And yeah, and then we and for us, developers are the protocol. So any protocol that want to be integrated with like Instadapp, they have to build some custom contracts and submit a pull request on a repo, and rest of our team take care, and it goes through governance, through voting, and the protocol is supported on Instadapp. So once it's supported on Instadapp, it brings composability. So if you have like a position on Maker, you can easily like move those liquidity from that to like your protocol, or from your protocol to any other protocol. So yeah, so the process is quite simple. It's more like creating a GitHub PR and going through a verification process that we have a team to do the checks, and then once supported, you are a part of the Instadapp ecosystem.
Awesome. And you talked a little bit about this right now, but you know, it's not just Sowmay and Samyak determining, you know, all the decisions within the company and the protocol. You know, we've seen this with a lot of protocols, starting with Compound, and then of course now other ones that have adopted governance, decentralized governance, and you know, you guys have that same sort of mentality. I mean, how is that gone? I mean, to kind of go from a bit more of a centralized company to actually launching a token and having decentralized governance. I mean, I'm certain that, like, as you know, folks in here that potentially, you know, start their own companies and start their own protocols have to kind of go through that mind shift. You know, how would you sort of describe that journey, and you know, how has it gone so far, and any learnings from that?
Yes, I think if I'm studying, I mean, if we were studying something today, we will go token first, then going through the whole like the corporate system, I mean, infra that people used to do in TradeFi. So at our time, it was like very early, and there was not much like tools around tokenized system. So that was the best way to go. But we can see the benefit of having a tokenized system with, I mean, tokenized ecosystem with launching your project. You have like a lot of contributions coming through community, and there are also like other effects, like you have to be more responsible, and the process is more bureaucratic because everything is happening in open. You can't take like instant decision on anything. Anything major. So but the upside and downside, I think the upside are pretty much higher. I mean, it was very hard for us to build anything in TradeFi because there are so many compliances, and being young, it was very hard to like enter that whole industry of banking. But with this whole open DeFi and I think this DAO, we're able to like build an organization, or I will say a distributed organization, where we are receiving contribution or suggestions, or things are being built on in more open than the closed door. So it helped us a lot in launching things, provided the background that we had. So I think, yeah, so I think we're literally very bullish on DAOs, and I mean, that's the future for sure.
I totally agree with you. I mean, for us right now, we're looking a lot at different DAOs, and of course, we are, you know, being sort of a larger shareholder in these token projects, trying to be as active as possible. But as you can imagine, there's so many projects, so much information, and you know, we're definitely looking for tools out there to better help manage, you know, our participation in DAOs. So I think that'll definitely be an area of interest for us. I guess on the process right now of decentralization and how it's gone, any insights, any surprises, any lessons that you kind of give for folks, you know, as they are thinking about this process?
I think the major thing that that anyone entering the space should like I mean, factor is like taking short-term targets, because the space is moving at a very rapid speed. Like what we are thinking 6 months back about developing, and 6 months after, everything has changed. We didn't thought like things are going to pan out so quickly on multi-chain world. and all the work that you're doing at that time will become completely become obsolete. So the best way is to like keep short-term targets, push things out in community as soon as possible, and build the momentum that you need to like keep up or sustain the project. Otherwise, like the space is innovating at a very high speed. In order to sustain, you need to like have that kind of momentum, short-term shipping cadence, and yeah, basically need to have like a consistency on that front. And that only happens when you will keep like short-term targets, solving short-term problems, and seeing how things are panning out in the whole ecosystem.
Yeah, no, that's the one thing that I've always been most impressed with you, Samyak, and the team, is that you guys move so quickly, and while having sort of a long-term target, you guys can sort of see great short-term opportunities, go out there, execute before everybody else, be able to collect, users in TVL because of just like great product innovation and things like that. So, congrats. I definitely agree with you on that point. So I think this is a question that I think is super fascinating. So, of course, with DeFi, as you mentioned, being able to get the community involved, which is very important because community is what's also going to be driving usage and also growth, in terms of referrals and things like that. And so having those guys have skin in the game, being able to vote and feel like they're part of the direction of the company is tremendous. And that's one value and usage of the token. But of course, there's tokens out there, 1inch gives you, sort of like part of the fees, slippage surplus, things like that. How do you, as you thought about your token and launching it, what do you imagine, or what did you imagine? What do you imagine for sort of like the usage and the value accrual for your token and how you sort of designed it?
Yeah, I think it's a very tricky part to handle when you're launching a token, because even at the time of launch, even we didn't know like how the whole ecosystem around the tokens are going to build. So initially you just run with like some messaging, or what is it, like that things are going to look something like this, but we as a community as a whole later have to figure out like how the value accrual around tokens will happen. So I think the primary focus should be around building a community around tokens. The community or the initial key loyal followers who will help you like build the whole value accrual around tokens, because it's better if the value accrual around tokens happen through like a proper discussion on your forums, or through proper governance process, and so things should happen in that way. Then we are suggesting or predicting how it. So initial just a basic messaging, and focus on building a community as well, and you will never know like how this value accrual will happen to tokens. So we are seeing all this like DAOs coming up, like I think last year, like mid last year 2020, there was like a very like a group of projects being launched, like Wire and SushiSwap and Cream Finance, and so all this launched, and later on like they pan out in like in a way that even we didn't imagine. Like they had like DAO swaps, token swaps, then Cream Finance launching a completely new offshoot of like Iron Bank. So also such things are possible if you have like such kind of community which are consistently pushing ideas or creating discussion around that, and the value accrual will happen. So I think the primary focus should be around building that initial loyal followers in the community that will help you like build the value around tokens over time.
Yeah, it's super fascinating. I mean, so we recently invested into BitDAO, and when I was seeing a proposal where Bybit or BitDAO would swap 1% of their tokens for 1% of FTT tokens, I'm just like, that's just such a massive transfer. Like, it's so cool to be able to see just a lot more collaboration across companies, a collaboration across communities, and it's just fun to be able to see like what's going to happen in the future. And as you mentioned, I mean, 12 billion of assets locked up in Instadapp. I mean, that's I think it was like, it's definitely top 3 in terms of DeFi, Pulse, DeFi, Llama, things like that. I mean, I guess from your perspective, how do you feel traction is going for you guys? And I'm always kind of curious as an investor, like, is TVL the number that you guys care about, or what other KPIs do you guys care about to really monitor like how you guys are doing as a company?
Yeah, I think there are two ways to see this. Like, I will not say like the TVL is the primary indicator of like the success, but TVL does build the trust. It
Yeah,
shows like
for sure.
protocol is like able to like back such a good value, like able to hold such value, such volumes are coursing through like the platform. But the key indicator for a project, it may depend, it may differ from project to project. In case of Compound Ave, it's like how much is
Yeah,
supplied and how much is borrowed.
very true.
In our in our case, it will be what's the velocity of transactions, how many users are using flash loans, how many people are swapping, and how many people are using like strategies. Because in future we think like those are the activities that are going to like generate cash flow or any other kind of value for Instadapp. So yeah, that could be that. But having a good log value does show like it does build a like trust for like growing more like and attracting more new like users in futures.
Awesome. No, I think that makes a lot of sense. And then I guess in terms of we've talked about like some of the things that you guys are doing now. I mean, anything that we should sort of look forward to in terms of, sort of like future product updates that, might be sort of interesting that you can share, of course.
Yeah, I think a near term, we are going to allow users to like move their whole DeFi positions between chains. So with multi-chain, we are seeing like there are a lot of solutions built around tokens. But I have my Ethereum logged in Compound with the dApp on it. Now I can't transfer it between chains because I have to first pay the dApp and then move it. So pay the dApp, I have to get the tokens, and so it's like a very, I mean, not it's a process that I will not try to do because lots of transaction and steps and moving between chains. So in near term, we are trying to solve that problem. We will have something like by next month early itself. And over time, things will look like more like a unified way. You are just managing your Aave position. Doesn't matter which chain it is, but it's more unified. You're not juggling between different chains. But yeah, you can see like a refinancing bridges between multiple chains in near term from our end.
Great. I think that's going to be hugely important. I'm on a bunch of different protocols right now that are going cross-chain, and the user experience is just like, really poor. So to be able to do what I'm doing on Instagram, not have to worry about cross-chain, I think that's going to be a game changer. And then if you zoom out to sort of a longer term vision for Instadapp, like I know 5 years is like, 35 regular years, especially in crypto, but what do you see as a long-term vision for Instadapp?
Yeah, I think Instadapp will be able to like abstract all the complexities that we are having in DeFi. Right now we are seeing like the complexity is mostly due to like a very bad UX due to your wallets, or you need to pay gas cost, or there are some RPC URL errors, or so there are lots of complexity. I mean, we as OGs of cryptos, I mean, we all like whoever into DeFi since the start, we're able to figure those things out. But I don't think my father will be able to like find able to fix RPC like URL issues. We're going to change the URL, and so there's lots of like, and even like that you need to maintain gas cost, like gas balance on every chain. On Avalanche it's AVAX, in Polygon it's Matic, it's Ethereum it's ETH. So we are seeing a lot of bad UX here. For us, our goal is to like abstract all these things by building a unified standard. We actually did it. I mean, we solved like a problem to a very good extent on Ethereum mainnet by abstracting complexity between protocols. But next could be around solving those problems in a multi-chain world. So and rest. However the ecosystem pan out, we'll think more like what can be the what are the problems and how we can like proactively solve them.
Great. No, thank you so much. I have one more question, and then we can open up to the audience for any of their questions if they have. And so I guess the last question, I think we have quite a few college students here, and do you have any advice for them in terms of getting into startups, getting into crypto, and then specifically, if they wanted to, get started with Instadapp, whether it's, trying out the product or maybe even internship positions or full-time positions or just other ways to get, involved with Instadapp, that would be sort of a step 2 of the question.
Yeah, broadly, I will say, try to join a DAO wherever your interest lies. Yeah, so a lot of things happening in open, and regardless of your age, gender, or I mean anything, you can just get started from day one. We learned this because we are able to like build such a big protocol, being very early and with no financial experience previously, and even had backing from investors, and even Paul and the full Pantera team like believed us initially and backed us, despite like I think we just met for like a minute or two in New York and consensus event, and yet we have like this whole group of people who are able to like support us. It's all due to like having an open system in this DeFi and in DAO. So so yeah, my suggestion would be to like create this on-chain profile of yours, where you're working for a DAO, you're pushing code to the GitHub repos, or participating in the governance process, or proposals, or voting to the DAO. So there are a lot of activities. It's still not that structured yet, but I think in next few years we will see like the whole structured products around this, which is allowing this online community to talk with the tokenized incentives. So that's where we see like the future. And even at Instadapp, we are just trying to like dissolve as much as to incentivize users or the contributors through tokens to like contribute to the protocol, and build a value around it. So yeah, that could be the best way to get started in crypto, in DeFi, or in DAO, more specific.
I guess last sub question, outside of like the obvious DAOs that are connected to like the large protocols, because there's now DAOs for a lot of things, buying NFTs, things like that. Do you have any 1 or 2 DAOs that are maybe non-obvious that you think are very exciting?
Come again?
Do you have any DAOs that you could tell us about that are maybe not so obvious, like not the Compound DAO or not the Uniswap DAO, but like any sort of like other like kind of like not so popular DAOs that you're excited about?
I think there are different forms of DAO that are coming up. I mean, yeah, you already mentioned like this Compound, and all these are protocol DAOs and managing economic values on that. But we're also seeing a lot of social DAOs, or community DAOs, or content DAOs. So Ryan from Bankless is also an investor in Instadapp, and we are like seeing how they build a whole community with their tokens and without having any economic value. So around Bankless, right? So such things are like you're going to see like a lot of different forms of DAO coming in the market. And as of now, we are mostly tracking the DeFi DAOs. Broadly, I think there will be a good social DAOs or community DAOs or DAO for a cause like NFTs or buying NFTs, or maybe non-profit DAOs. So yeah, I think the whole thing, whole traditional corporate system we have, like non-profits and then companies and subsidiaries, we are going to see the whole thing being replicated on the DAO as well. So yeah.
Great. That's all that I had right now. I'm taking a look. There's no questions. I mean, anybody that has a question, feel free to raise your hand and mute yourself and ask. It looks like we have a little bit of time.
Christopher, go ahead.
Yeah, I was just curious because it seems like interoperability seems to be like the future of DeFi, right? I mean, Visa's making their own network for this as well. But how are you guys handling gas fees for Instadapp from that end, from switching from chain to chain?
Yeah, I mean, anything that touches Ethereum mainnet, gas cost is going to substantially increase. But if you're managing Instadapp on Polygon or Avalanche or Arbitrum or any other chains, then the gas cost is substantially lower. So one step ahead, what we're trying to also allow is like you can even switch between Polygon to Avalanche or any such side chain without touching Ethereum mainnet. So in that case, you are saving a lot of gas cost because everything is linked to mainnet. But if you're allowing like direct cross-chain transfers, not transfer, but even moving your DeFi positions, then they're going to be a very good optimization on gas. But as of now, as we are built on Ethereum or other chains, if you're using this Instadapp through those chains, then there will be gas cost associated with that.
That makes sense. And one quick other question, because I'm like semi-familiar with Instadapp. So I guess in terms of like the API you guys offer, how do you guys see, I guess, businesses or developers building on top of that existing ecosystem? I guess what's the future of that?
Yeah, I think on mainnet, we're not seeing that kind of development happening because of high gas cost. But we're seeing a lot of developers building their automation system. Maybe it's a swapping, or maybe it's a saving their DeFi positions when the prices are dropping. So such kind of activity we are seeing on Polygon mostly right now. But I think we will see this because of the low barrier to entry, like the low gas cost. People are going to build custom scripts or automation script using our SDKs or our smart contracts.
So are you guys gonna be investing a lot of resources into building these kind of like custom bridges so you don't have to go through Ethereum?
Come again?
So are you actually investing a lot of resources in building these kind of custom bridges between, let's say, like Polygon and Avalanche, so you don't have to go through Ethereum?
Yes, we're building a whole validator system which will help you connect all these chains and verify your position and move your position across different chains. So yeah, a lot of infrastructure development is being happened. Mostly all of this development is happening individually on separate chains, and then all those chains will be connected through a validator system. So I think we just a few weeks back, we posted a video, a minute video, which explains that thing, and in upcoming weeks, we'll have more details roll out on that.
Interesting. Thanks.
I guess one question that's coming through is, how does Instep compare to other protocols like Ren, which I'm not sure if Ren is still around, but I mean, there's obviously a lot of other
bridges.
Bridges. There are a lot of other companies building bridges, and you guys are building one of your own. And obviously, I guess at a certain point, you could potentially even sort of like have that be a separate business. I guess that's what some folks are doing. They're building both the bridges and also the application on top. But how would you guys say, what you guys are building on the interoperability compares to what other people are doing as a company just focused on it?
I think what the bridges are doing right now is the very next immediate solution, which is easy to think and even easy to build, which is just allow token transfer to bridges. You have that Ethereum on this chain and you got this on other chain. What we're trying to do is not only moving your token balances, but you can even move your whole DeFi position. So if you have a position of 1 million Ethereum and 500K USDC, you can move those positions to Polygon, to Avalanche, and there's no bridge there which can technically support this without having an ecosystem that we have at Instadapp, the contract ecosystem, the smart contract accounts that we are supporting. So you can't do it with EOS account, and so you need to hold this ecosystem, and we're trying to build that thing. So another example, you have AMM position on mainnet. Now you can move those AMM position to any other chains. Bridges don't support it. Bridges just do like singular ERC20 token standard transfers. So that's the best immediate solution, but I think that's not solving the problem. You still have to like, you still can't move your major DeFi positions, because every users mostly have their DeFi positions on any mainnet. They don't have like idle tokens to move around. So that's the problem we are trying to solve. And I think on mainnet, we did solve that a very good extent by providing refinances bridging between protocols. Same we are trying to do with like different DeFi protocols on different DeFi chains.
Thanks.
Does anybody else have questions?
Oh, one last question from my end. I guess in building this platform, right? I mean, for people trying to get into the space, trying to build projects, I mean, what's your, I guess, how did you guys go about raising capital to build this out? If you have any advice there.
I don't think if you are building a I mean even if there is a slightest I mean the project is genuine, you are having a lot of capital flowing in the ecosystem. And the fact that you don't need to verify yourself, but you can be verified through your smart contracts, to the community build around, or through the financial transactions happening through your platform. It's relatively easier to raise funds or capital than previously in fintech industry. So it's relatively easier, but to start with, if you are just beginning, there are lots of DAOs which are accepting grant applications, and they have like innovation grants, and there are lots of different like smaller capital support from many projects that you can apply for. DAOs are also like distributing grants for even doing like maybe creating a small script for analytics or anything like that. So that could be a good start, but once you have like a good foundation around your project, raising capital will not be an issue, at least at seed stage, due to like I mean good amount of capital flowing into the ecosystem.
Yeah, I can probably give my perspective there too. So yeah, I mean, I agree. Right now, it's a good time to be fundraising. Again, a lot of investors are interested. People look at the price, and just other people within the ecosystem are just making a lot of money, and they want to diversify into things that could potentially have bigger returns than whatever protocols they're in, Bitcoin, Ethereum, especially. And so I'd rather take a chance on an earlier stage bet. And I agree with Sowmay. I mean, as what Sowmay mentioned, you start off with the hackathon. That's a great way to get visibility. And then if you're starting off on a new ecosystem like Solana or Avalanche, there's a lot of grants that are going on. I mean, Near yesterday announced like $350 million DeFi grant fund. And so that's always a way to be able to get some capital, get going. And DAOs, I think, are also great too. And then I could even tie it back into, what we look for when we invest into Instadapp. I mean, you don't have to have a product to fundraise. It does make it potentially a bit more challenging. Then you really have to prove that you have the background or the community or the thinking to be able to sort of go out there and build a team and execute. But what Instadapp had was a product, and an awesome product, the product that we tried that we were just like, wow, this is really solving a problem. And as Sowmay also mentioned, if you do have a product and you do actually have transactions and data, it's a lot easier for people to see that and discover that than it would be if you had a sort of a centralized company. So we were able to actually go on chain and take a look at what was going on with Instadapp and see the metrics over there. And even with our investment into 1inch, a lot of guys have DEX. They just sent us their Dune account. That's what they or like a Dune dashboard, and we were able to see like all the different metrics, and then of course you back into like, okay, is this the team that you want to back? Is this like the vision, the whatever? But I think all of that makes it a bit easier if you are able to sort of have a product. But I think what Sowmay mentioned is just a great way to start.
All right, I think we can wrap here. Thanks so much, guys. This is super interesting. I think definitely, definitely great experience. Everybody listening, and yeah, we'll share it on by YouTube after the conference so people can reference it if they want to.
Awesome. Well,
Yeah,
thank you so much, guys. I think you can always follow me and Sowmay on Twitter, or if you guys want to learn more about Instadapp, I'm sure they have an awesome Twitter, Discord, and stuff. And yeah, try it out. It's awesome. Thanks, guys.
yeah. Thanks for putting this together. Thank you.